So I am going to tell you guys all something that maybe one day I'll tell this idiotic community that I freaking have come to despise. I'm sharing this with you, mainly Kenny. This is the written opinion of our attorneys. What I can't do, what we've never been allowed to do, is all the emails that we get are marked legally protected or privileged information between the associate, and you're allowed to have it. So if you want the original email, I would certainly share it. And I share this because the legal opinion of our attorneys hasn't necessarily been shared with Victoria and Beverly when they were on the board. So I know how difficult it is, because we've been doing this, to write something and provide it or to make an announcement. I will personally call them and let them know how this board feels, and let them know that we do feel that there was not an error, but like the vote could have gone differently, and we appreciate what you do. And if you are seeking some type of defamation lawsuit against Victoria for making those statements, I would certainly support them. And then I would encourage the other board members to call them if you feel it's appropriate and say something similar. But this way we're not having to put something in writing. All right. This one also goes to majority of all members, so I'm going to try to explain this as clearly as I possibly can, because it's ambiguous. Our bylaws, when you look in our bylaws, there's a section that talks about interpretation. Interpretation is solely done by the board of directors. So if there's any ambiguity in our bylaws, it is the board of directors who makes the decision on what that interpretation means. And so I want to be very clear, the interpretation that me, Diana, and Rich have all been operating off of is the one you're seeing in front of us. Although a majority of all members has to vote out a board member, we established a quorum at 25%, which is what our bylaws state. The Virginia Nonstop Corporation requires us to vote with the same criteria and quorum to remove a board member as it does to elect a board member. And so to elect a board member, we actually don't have to have a quorum. So we used our minimum quorum standard of 25%. So the phrase "a majority of all members" refers to the vote of a majority of the votes entitled to be cast by the members present or represented by proxy at which a quorum is present. This is our interpretation as a board. Okay? I'm not going to say in Virginia law. That's an interpretation of the law. So we ran this by, and this is the Virginia code that talks about removal of directors and establishing a quorum. And the attorney's response was, we can support your interpretation. They can also support Victoria's interpretation. We don't, no, the board already agreed. This is not a vote, okay? This, Rich and Diana, is our interpretation and what we use to uphold removing those two board members, okay? So this is what we've already agreed to, but we reviewed it with the attorney, all right? And this needs to be used to respond to her complaint. And I say it that way because we're not going back into an open session and voting on language. Okay? All right. What's funny is, and I knew this going into the meeting, and I shared this with the attorney, if she felt that there was a challenge in how we removed her, she could have filed an injunction in court, and a court of law has to provide precedence for that particular hearing. But nobody really knows what that means. But the lawyer, the judge, is supposed to put it into the thing so that they can have an emergency hearing, which still might take 2 months, but we're going to go straight into a new election anyway. I mean, we're at that point. So by the time she tried to take any action, it would just be too late. because we're already going to be in a new election, and we talked about that with our attorney also. Okay? So we're not exposing ourselves to risk because we're going straight into an election. I will make these motions. We will vote to approve the Lake Committee treatments, Lake Committee treatment contract. I'm going to call it a contract. Vote to approve the message pending review in regards to Lake Sim homeowners, and vote to approve the RPA message pending review. Yeah, to the community. Okay? And again, when I say pending review, that just means Rosa. And I don't have to explain that in an open session, but we do have to make the motion in that. Okay?